Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We got two great guests here. My name is Clint, Stars of Tube Wrestling. This is Mr. Dubs. Mr. Dubs, go ahead and introduce yourself and our esteemed guest here. Take it away.
We are here representing Off the Top. My name is Mr. Dubs. This, of course, is Strides of Tube Wrestling. You can find us. All the links to everyone's socials will be down below. You can find me at YouTube at Mr_Dubs and on X at MrDubs86. And today, we are very blessed to have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sam Vallely, the head designer for Ultra Pro Wrestling, a game, obviously, if you've been following my channel and Strides' channel, you're very, very familiar with. But for those of you who aren't as familiar, I'm going to give you just a brief synopsis of how I see this game. And so obviously, if you're all familiar with the Aki engine, the infamous engine that was dominant through the late 90s and early 2000s for games like Mercy, Virtual Pro Wrestling, WrestleMania 2000, one of my favorites, WCW NWO Revenge, World Tour, the lesser-known WCW versus the World on PlayStation, with the little predecessor to that. But the way they've looked at it, or the way I see it, is this would be if Aki had continued today, if they were still making a wrestling game today, this is what it would look like if they were to have made it today. They want to keep it in that same Aki feel. We all played Fight Forever. We know it had that kind of general base, but this wants to stay much more true to the Aki engine and the Aki feel. And the most important part that I think Fight Forever lost out on the most was the creation side, where this game has been built around its creation engine. So all the characters in the game are created with that same creation engine that we're going to use to modify, edit, and create our own wrestlers. So if you've played Fight Forever, I'm sure many of you have, when you create a wrestler there, they look completely out of place. It's 100% seen. This is a create a wrestler. This doesn't look like the in-game models. They don't look the same. It's so obvious, whereas this game is going for the opposite. In the old No Mercy games, if you played No Mercy, the creation suite was one of the biggest parts of it. You could customize every part of every wrestler. You could put, China's attire on Jim Ross if you wanted. You could change Jim Ross's face to Steve Austin if you wanted. You could literally edit all the parts of the game, and this is bringing that back, where you can fully customize every part of every in-game wrestler, every DLC wrestler. You can change the names of the promotions. You can edit the arenas. You can edit the rings. You can change literally everything you change also will be reflective. If you remember the old intros to those Aki games, they had a fun little intro at the start. And if you change the attires on the different wrestlers or change them up, it would change there as well. This is going to have that brought back. So when you see that opening credits, if you're not a fan of Blue Collar Bill Dollar and you want to replace him with your version of The Undertaker, that will reflect there. And it's also going to be the same, as far as I understand, with the single player campaign mode. One of the biggest features as well, outside of just the creation side, we've got the campaign mode, which is going to be taking you at the start through the 80s. You're going to work your way through the 80s. Later on down the line, years down the line, we're going to get a reveal of the 90s, and then later the 2000s, and subsequently when, say, something like the 90s comes out, you might get some more match types, like an exploding barbed wire death match, or, a hardcore match, or a TLC match. Stuff that happened in the 90s, once you play through the story, will actually become playable in-game. And the biggest side of the creation parts that some people might not be familiar with is they'll have in-game, an in-game, like a paint tool, so that you can customize and make your little logos. You can make the perfect set of Bret Hart pants, or if you want something much more detailed, like an RVD attire. But the important part is you don't have to make it yourself. If one person out there makes it, they can upload it to Community Creations. You're able to download it and directly inject it into your game, which is super, super, super cool. And for theme musics, they also are planning on having an in-game MIDI editor. So you can even have like an 8-bit, 16-bit kind of retro version without lyrics, kind of like how they were in the No Mercy games. You don't have the lyrics, but you get the sound, and you can make your own like kind of chiptune versions of wrestlers' themes. And I think that is such a nice touch. So cool.
Yes.
But if there's anything I've left out, Sam, do you think I gave a fair synopsis of what we've got coming here?
Yeah, that was an awesome breakdown.
Yes.
You covered so much there.
You see why I brought him along? This guy knows his stuff.
You made me think there about the music, actually, and back on the AKI games, they had the Raw's War theme. That was kind of the one that was quite kind of rocky. So I kind of used that for probably, well, all my ECW guys probably had that, you know.
Nice.
So even the fact that it was, it wasn't the most high quality music, it just, at least you had something to go with it. So that's kind of
Exactly.
the thought process behind like the MIDI creation tool. It might not be the best, but if you can create, a MIDI version of, Bret Hart's theme music, as soon as the
Perfect.
guy's coming down the aisle, and you've got the crowd noise anyway, so you're not going to hear it super clean anyway. Just
Yeah.
having that little addition in the background, if that's all we can do, if we can't do like Spotify integration and have,
Yeah.
proper music, at least we've got something rather than just,
Exactly.
a list of like 10 default theme tunes that everyone
And,
has to sort
and
of.
that's what I thought so cool about the in-game paint tool, because I don't know the logistics of how difficult it's going to be to have, say, like an image uploader, like the 2K
Yeah.
series has had for years now, but it's caused problems, especially when they first introduced it. It was very hard to really have those things, and it did cause a lot of issues. So the fact that you have an alternate solution like a paint tool that you can in-game edit the logos, I think it's such a brilliant idea, because even if
Absolutely.
you are at some point able to get to that point of having an image uploader, if you don't have it at launch, you still have something for everyone, which is, I think, is super cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm not sure what the issues are necessarily. Obviously, I think if you upload an image and it's not the right dimensions, and maybe that's something to do with it.
Well, yeah,
Obviously,
they
Yeah.
did always have a requirement of it has to be in this dimensions, otherwise it would get stretched or compressed
yeah,
to
Yeah,
that.
that's how 2K does it with
yeah.
their 2K
I guess
series. Yeah.
even if you're uploading an image, if it's not the right format, maybe there's something there.
Sure.
Um, Sometimes even even PNGs have to be the exact right type of PNG,
Yeah.
otherwise it doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think they required JPEGs or PNGs only, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, at least I mean, yeah, with the texture paint system, I mean, it's all kind of within the game, so it's always going to be the right
Nice.
format, the
Nice.
right size,
yeah,
all that stuff. So there's definitely not going to be any issues with that. Obviously, we've not tested uploading an image to a website and then having that load in the game and all that stuff. But yeah, obviously that would be cool. I guess maybe there is a concern that we've not thought about with people uploading images that would get us thrown
Yeah.
off of,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
knew exactly
well,
where you're going with that.
for
Yeah.
stuff like that, it happens in the 2K games as it is, and I don't think there's really a way. Like they won't stay up for long, I'm sure, because I'm sure there are moderators that go through.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they'll have certain keywords blocked out, like
yeah.
swear words and stuff, so that you can't search via that. I guess to maybe help
Yeah,
It
that
combat
makes
has
that.
it has like a
But
flag system where you can flag it if it's
yeah,
inappropriate. So
and then someone will
yeah.
look at it and maybe remove it
I
or
mean,
something, because I've seen that before.
yeah, it's probably the only way to do it, really. But yeah,
nice.
it's it would be cool to get people to, I don't even know if I'm really allowed to say this, but have people upload the actual logos for ECW and the WWF and all that stuff. I would love that. We as a
I
company are
mean,
not going to be the ones that are
Right.
of course,
They do it in the
standing.
2K games, so I think
they do it all the
it's
time
there's
with,
some sort
yeah,
of
it doesn't
yeah.
matter. Like long before they were TKO, people would upload UFC
Yep.
images and UFC logos and have the belts and everything else. So I don't
Yeah.
see it being a problem, because there's never been an issue in the
Yeah,
past.
because
So
they're
I
not
don't
So,
see.
charging for it. It's just the community doing it. So you should
yeah,
be in the clear. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I think there are rules about because it's a platform and not whatever the other one is. Because we're not pushing that content, it's content created by players. It does get us out. I just don't know if
You
the
can't
guy
promote it.
Yeah.
yeah, if the
Yeah.
guy
You
who owns
can't
the
promote
company
it,
is,
but we can promote it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
yeah,
We can promote it for the game, but you can't promote it
yeah,
specifically
yeah,
for the
that
game.
might be
Right.
that might be the
That
rule.
that makes sense. So Clint, go ahead. I know we both have a number of questions we'd like to ask. So Clint, you go ahead. You go first.
Yeah, we want to try to not keep you too long. So, first question for you, and you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'll explain, is do you plan on adding movable creation parts like in WrestleMania 19 on the GameCube? Now, on the GameCube, there was a certain amount of creation parts, let's say like a spinning blade, right? You can position them anywhere on the character. You can have them floating out here, you can have them in their shoulders to make it look like they had cool spinning blades in their shoulders. If you had a mask, you can adjust it to where it would fit the face perfectly, the size of the object, and all this stuff. Is that something you've even considered, or do you even know what I'm talking about?
In terms of like the mask, moving the mask, I've not thought about that because the way that the masks all have sort of blend shapes with them, so like they will conform to whatever face you have.
Okay.
Like if you have Bill Dollar's face, the mask will sit on Bill Dollar's face properly. In terms of like a spinning pattern, like an animated clothing item, not thought about that at all. Yeah, I'm trying to think of. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what attire items you would have. You know, I guess you have like Jericho's jacket that lights up, but in terms of like, you know, because that's an animation, I guess. But in terms of like something that's moving, no, I've not thought about that at all.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Do you have any?
I was like, whoa. Back then,
maybe like, you know, obviously the WWE title, the old one would have the spinner.
Nice. Yeah, the spinner.
Things like that. Yeah, I don't know. Not thought about attire parts moving.
Yeah, see, there's an idea for you. I know it's probably way down the line, but hey, something cool to think about down the road.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I thought was one of the most fascinating things, and I think one of the most ambitious things you guys are planning on doing, is you're having a weekly TV stream where you're having a weekly event where you're going to be having a championship defended every week. We obviously don't know at this point if crossplay is going to be 100% at launch or not. If it is, I know the plan is just having one champion. That's it, an internet champion for all platforms. Otherwise, if you have to do, I mean, I've heard the ideas thrown up in the past of maybe having a North American champion, maybe having, you know what I mean, just because of connections and stuff. If you have to do stuff like that, or having an Xbox champion, a PlayStation, if crossplay isn't there at launch. But because this has never been done before, and it sounds so fast, because this is a way that even if the player base isn't huge, it's something that'll bring them together every week, that will get players playing the game and for online matches, which for me as an online player, it's a huge deal. So I was curious on how players will be able to match each other for specific, either be it the title matches or number one contenders matches. Say you do like a battle royal for the number one contender or even for the championship. How will viewers, as well as how will we match each other for that, but how will viewers via Twitch or YouTube or whatever be able to watch those matches? Like if, say, it's just some random person who doesn't stream, doesn't have a setup or anything, how will we be able to watch that title match, as well as how will the players themselves be able to link up? So sorry, it's a two-part question.
All right, yeah. I mean, watching the title match, that's something that we will do live. So when it won't just be a match that, like, if you're the champion, you don't get to just decide, okay, I'm going to defend it at 7:00 tomorrow. You know, if you're the champion, you can obviously play in other matches and non-title matches. But you have to then defend the title at the weekly show. So, and that'll be something.
But how are viewers going to be able to watch that match? Like, my thoughts was like if you were going to do a special guest referee where you're the ref every week, and we would just see it from your perspective of, like, you know what I mean? We would be able to watch the match via your stream. That was the only way I could think that you could go about it, where this title match, could be broadcast on the stream, because I don't know how else you could go about it.
Yeah, I guess it's like, well, whenever you do something online, all the inputs and everything are recorded and they're uploaded to the server. So that server, all that information just comes back to, it just gets interpreted in technically another version of the game. Nice. That's just sort of relaying the information. So the person who's defending the title, he doesn't have to be streaming it or anything like that.
That's what I mean, right? If I'm just a viewer on Twitch, how are you going to have the stream where we're going to be able to watch the match in real time?
So you're going to host it then?
Yeah, you would go to Twitch/Ultra Pro Wrestling, whatever it is, and we will have basically a real-time recreation of the match happening, basically getting the information from our servers.
That's cool. That's cool.
What's happening with the match.
Kind of like a live broadcast, huh?
we're doing like a live broadcast
Nice.
essentially.
That's cool.
There might be like a little bit of a delay. It might not be exactly real time.
But you'd be able to just take someone's match that they're playing on their console and broadcast that with, like,
Well, if they're playing it on the console, that match is already being, all their inputs and everything like that is already being taken, and processed, in a server, and that's how the whole online stuff works anyway. So,
but you're able to take that input and broadcast that.
yeah, pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I didn't know
So
that.
just as an example on that, if I was just having a match with Strizer, and we weren't broadcasting or anything, but it was online, would you have the ability just to take that specific match and broadcast it if you wanted?
I think
Like, could you do that for any online match then?
We'd have to do it beforehand. We'd have to set up, and I think we'd have to know. We'd have to basically.
Have it just set to record beforehand. Kind of thing.
Yeah. Basically,
That's so
I
cool.
don't think. I'm not sure if we could like retroactively go back and
Okay.
because that might be cool to find. Like if someone, if someone
An
actually
epic
does,
match, right?
yeah, if someone does win, a title match, and you could somehow go back and see their journey and almost recreate matches that they've had. But that might be a bit. That might be a lot of work to do that.
Sure, but I didn't know you could do this.
I mean,
I've never heard of this.
There might be easier ways to do it once we test this stuff, and if it turns out that it's very processing heavy, then we might have to try and think of other ways of doing it, which might involve
Special guest referee. To me, that's you play for whomever that can stream it, and then you can stream it that way, and you just play as an unbiased ref. And for all title matches, that's how I thought you were going to do it. So this is news to me.
In some, sorry, go ahead.
That's essentially a similar way that it works. You're basically you're observing the match through a third party, but that person who's observing that match is basically it's almost the same process of just the inputs from the players are being processed and then being broadcast to that other person. But you don't really need that special guest referee to be there. You don't really need an extra account, an extra character. You just have another.
I just had no idea that worked that way. Like there was an on server and you could set that up. I just assumed you would have to be present in the match so that we could watch your stream. As you know what I mean? As like I just assumed.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we don't have that built out or anything just yet. Our online stuff that we have is quite bare bones just now. So there's a lot that we need to test and make sure that what we're doing is performance-wise the best way of doing it. But yeah, no, I don't think it's an issue. I don't think there's any issues with taking a match that two people out in the world are playing against each other, and taking that information and basically recreating a match, whether we have to be in there as a referee or a third party account or anything like that, and then broadcasting that match, and then commentating on it and creating a show around it and all that stuff as well.
I know that some fighting games have a spectator mode where it lets you watch the match while you're just sitting there waiting in the lobby for your match to start. So maybe that's a way you could go about it. That way you can watch it that way, so you're not like having to go through all these hoops to try to get that to work. Because like a spectator mode, that'd be a super easy way to just watch it that way.
Yeah. I mean that's almost kind of what I was trying to explain.
Okay.
Where it's like you're taking that information, it's going to the server anyway, so you're just relaying it back to a spectator account. Yeah. So that was like a long-winded way of basically almost saying the same thing.
The developer way of explaining it. All right. Next question. Will the gameplay have options for different play styles? Example, in the 2K series, there's 3 different pin systems to choose from. So there's the button mash method, there's the double up joystick method, like on the meter, and then there's the circle meter method. So are you just going to have just a button mashing like in the old No Mercy games, or are you going to have accessibility options is basically what I'm getting at here for people that can't button mash like a crazy person.
As of now, and it's weird because I have seen a lot of people voice their concern about the button mashing, and especially when you don't have a meter and you can't see how close you are to kicking out. I don't know though, because there's something I like about that where, like, you're gonna try extra hard if you don't know. If your meter is like very close to kicking out, then you might kind of not really. Yeah, you just have to tap it a couple of times. But if you don't know, then every time you get pinned, it's more. I don't know. You just put more energy into it. It makes the match more
Start
exciting.
sweating.
It makes it more exhilarating. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not a fan of the mini game. Where you need to push the button at the right time. I'm just not a fan of it. I think it's like there's certain things in wrestling where you're almost trying to simulate the wrestling experience, and all you've got is a control pad. So pushing the buttons, timing wise, maybe there's situations in wrestling, if you're actually in a wrestling match, where the timing maybe of a reversal, maybe it does come up as kind of important. But if you imagine a guy on top of you, you're getting pinned, you're not looking at the referee waiting until that right moment to then kick out. It's more of a struggle. It's more of like, no, get off me. That's what obviously wrestling's choreographed. It's not a natural struggle, but that's what it's kayfabe's supposed to be. Is you're trying to get this guy off of you. So that's what it should be. That's what it should feel like to the player. You want a submission's a good example. You're trying to get to the ropes. You're trying to so you're not sitting there waiting for the right moment to reach your hand out and grab the rope. And it's not timing based. It's very much like mash these buttons, get this guy off me, get to the ropes as quick as I can. So that's what I don't know. I think about how that sort of simulation aspect of it, where when you play the game, you want to kind of, to the best you can do in a controller, simulate the experience of actually being in the match and
being in a real fight, kind of thing.
Right?
Yeah.
The fight or flight thing, like
yeah, and like I try and think of like ways in which in a wrestling match, in a wrestling context where timing could be a factor, but I don't think pins is one of them. I don't think submissions is one of them. Timing is more like if you're on the turnbuckle and you're waiting on the guy to turn around, that's a timing based event.
Okay.
But I don't know how that translates into the game. You wouldn't want a mini game when you're on the turnbuckle to push. It doesn't translate.
They've done that. They've done that in past wrestling games.
Oh yeah.
I hated those like breakout moments and stuff, or like your comeback. It's like, oh, you got to press X as soon as he's coming for the lariat. Oh, and now you got to press B at the right. I hate. No,
I don't. Yeah, is that when they have like cut scenes?
Yeah. There's big giant button on the screen.
You got to time that mini game. Like I never liked those.
Nice.
Yeah.
So my next question is regarding DLC exclusive attire parts.
Wait, this is a good one.
The example I'm going to give is from something you mentioned in the past. How as of now, Matt Cardona's vest is because all the wrestlers are built from in-game, and they all Bill Dollar can swap like the different pants, and everything else is all the same, except you mentioned with Matt Cardona, his vest is unique to him. That's an attire part that isn't on any other wrestler because it was a specific thing you needed to create for him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I mean,
every once in a while, it's funny. It happens in our Discord thing too. Just give him a sec; it'll be back. You froze there, Dubs.
I think it's just pretending.
There we go.
I think when he comes
back.
You're back. There you go. Well,
am I back?
There you go. Okay,
am I back?
There you go.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I don't know what causes that because I hear you guys the whole time, so I just keep talking. So I'll go over the question again. It's to do with the DLC exclusive parts, where certain characters, I know you mentioned in the past, Matt Cardona's vest is unique to him, whereas most of the parts are interchangeable with all the wrestlers. His vest is the only example I have, but where it's exclusive to him. Now, if I, for instance, have purchased Matt Cardona and I make a version of Stone Cold Steve Austin or some wrestler, and I use his vest, will I then be able to upload my creation of whoever it is that's using that DLC exclusive part? Will I be able to upload that to community creations? And it's not just specifically the vest, it's any, DLC exclusive part, whether it's a Bret Hart sunglasses or whoever might come down the line as a DLC. If they have an exclusive part on them and I make my own wrestler that uses that, will I be able to upload them to community creations? And my second part of that question is, if I am able to upload them to community creations, if Strizer now wants to download, or someone wants to download my character, because I've made a perfect Steve Austin or whoever it might be, will they have to then own each corresponding DLC that has an exclusive part on them? Like if I have 3 different DLC characters exclusive parts, like a vest, sunglasses, boots, whatever it is, will they have to also own each of those 3 DLCs to be able to download it?
Yes. So you will be able to upload it, but in order for someone to download it, it will come up and say this item requires these attire parts. Because obviously, if we want you to be able to upload all the creations that you make, including the ones that you've made with the attire parts, but obviously, if we just let anyone download them, then then the whole DLC thing dies.
Exactly.
There's no point.
This is what I wanted to bring to your attention.
Yeah.
This is exactly why I wanted to bring it to your attention, because I'm like, if you do that, then they can just upload all of Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
Copy him, clone him to a create a wrestler, upload him, and then you can just download all the DLC for free.
Yeah.
So this is what I was hoping for.
And then we'll probably get a call from Matt Cardona going,
Exactly.
What are you
What's
doing?
going on?
Right.
Exactly. So then the same question goes with just the DLC exclusive moves. Is that going to be the same thing? So if there's specific moves that were attached to that DLC wrestler, you'll need to own that DLC to.
Yeah, I mean,
has that.
we will have DLC exclusive moves, because there's some characters with the DLC where their attire items are not too out there. You know, you probably could create them. So it's almost like, well, what am I getting from this character that I couldn't just create? And so there's certain moves that, like Chris Candido's power bomb off the top. You know, that's his version of that move is something that we either wouldn't have got around to doing until, like, you know, way later, but having him in the game, that gives us that excuse to do that, because then we can you know, pull in some money to the development for that move.
So now, Mike, and I apologize for just adding Strizer for adding to this. It's just because with this, I know I've run into this issue in the past with WWE games, is when you would go to download like a perfect Hulk Hogan or whatever, and it says, well, it requires this DLC, but it wouldn't tell you specifically what it is. So like I accidentally uploaded my own character because I owned all the DLC, but my friend had none of it, and he couldn't download just my own self because it said he needs this and this DLC. But I didn't even know what parts of DLC I was using, because it was moves, it was attire parts, it was whatever. I didn't know what moves to take off my character to let him download it without it. So I had no idea how to allow him, and he's like, well, I'm not spending $30 to download your character. I'm like, obviously. So yeah. Will it tell you what, like, specific moves or things from a DLC so that creators can try and also upload a version that doesn't have that, so they have a free version to download?
Yeah, I mean, to us, that's a very obvious way of, you know, that's advertising for the DLC, you know. So like you don't want to say, oh, you can't just download that, you know, because it has these attires, and you need to go and guess which ones that it has.
Yeah.
You know, we'd almost like it'd be like a smart business decision to have like a link to the DLC when you go to download the character, and it says, you know, you need Matt Cardona's jacket. Click here and you can, you know, download it. So yeah, I mean that seems like a kind of no-brainer. That's strange to me that other games just didn't, you know, consider that.
Right. Like I had no idea. I guess I have a bunch of DLC.
I have an ask for you about that. Will you be able to see in 2K when you buy DLC or a character, it just lumps all the parts together, so you have to dig for it for hours to try to find what's new? Are you going to have it to where you have the in-game parts, the DLC parts, all, you know, like categorized? Because that would help tremendously when you're trying to create a character. Just like Mr. Dubs is like, he wants his buddy to download his character and he has no idea. If you can go through and see what is DLC, then like, oh, okay, I know exactly what to remove. Because if you sort it out, that would help us like a crap ton.
Because I'm actually in the middle just now of building out. We're doing all the moves in the menu, and you know, looking back at No Mercy, whenever you unlocked a move, it was highlighted. But yeah, we were literally just yesterday talking about the different ways that we could filter through things, because if you go through the moves list, you know, if you go on No Mercy, it's, you know, you go into the strong strikes or something, and it's huge. So yeah, we were literally talking about the different ways that you could filter. And someone asked about a search functionality, so you could just hold in square or something, and it'll bring up a keyboard, and you could type in. But yeah, like in No Mercy, they actually had different colors for the unlockable items. We would do the same with the downloadable items, where they would be colored differently.
Okay.
And then you could filter it so that you would only show the DLC items, or you could, if you know what it's called, if you know it's Matt Cardona's jacket, you can either tab along to M, or you can hold in a button that will bring up a search filter, and you just type in, Cardona, and it'll bring up all the Matt Cardona stuff.
That's awesome to hear.
Love that. Love that.
All right,
so user friendly.
We're so about that. It's the thing I keep talking about with like the color palette that we have. Like some people might look at it and think it's kind of limited, but there's actually something really nice about that. It lets you create characters so much quicker, so much easier than if you're trying to create. I always use the example of the Green Ranger. Like if you're trying to create the Green Ranger, you could spend a long time getting that exact right color of green,
Yeah.
Whereas in No Mercy, if you wanted to make the Green Ranger, you had like 3 options of green.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, I remember that.
But we'll have more than 3 options. But I do like the idea of it being just really easy. It's one thing. I don't know if you played the new Street Fighter game that came out.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think I got the demo for it, and it was the very first thing you do is create your character, and just. I don't know. There's something so intimidating about the amount of options that you have, that that you're going to be there for like an hour at least.
Yeah, I spent 2 hours making my character.
That's some of my favorite parts of the wrestling game.
Yeah.
The best parts is spending the time creating my character. I love that. I love that.
I like it if you can deep dive in it, and then if you want to. But when I'm creating a character and I'm spending so much time just on the face, and I've not even got to anything yet, it makes me kind of go, I'll come back to it later. Whereas I kind of like if you had sort of surface level options and then an advanced tab that if you want to really go into the deep stages of it, you can. But the idea of making it more simple on the surface so that you can just quickly set a face and all that stuff. And it's actually something with the color palette. It's an idea I've been playing with because people do like to really go deep with it. That so let's say we have like 6 different options for red. I'm now thinking maybe if you hold in a button, you see the button, the thing go round, and then it opens up, and then you get this almost like this hidden color wheel, which is it's all the different versions of red that you could get. So that if you just can't get that right color of red with those surface level options, then you could do a deeper dive. And it's the same with the body morphing. You've got your basic body morphing buttons, but then there's the advanced tab. And it's kind of it's not like if the WWE game, I think they don't really have an advanced tab. It's just all there in one list.
It's all pre-selected, and it sucks. Sorry, but it sucks. It's bad.
That's what I mean about it being just like intimidating. If you open up like a menu and there's like 20 options and we're only on the head, it's just kind of like it's just a little bit off-putting that I just think, I'll come back to it, I'll do it later, but whereas if you have like the nose, you can select like a handful of different noses, but then you've got the advanced tab that if you really wanted to take your time,
you want to morph it, you want to change it, you can. I love that. I love that. I'm just more interested in like the menu and the layout and not making it just too overwhelming.
Intimidating. Like, oh boy.
yeah.
Like when the move sets, like you're saying, I'll make my character. I'll spend like all day making my character, and then when I get to the moves, I just pick a pre-selected set of moves until I can go back later, and I might change the finisher or something because the move set. How many moves? There's like thousands of moves in every different little category. It takes time.
And especially like when you just start a game, like with that Street Fighter game, like when you just turn it on, you kind of just want to quickly create just a guy so that you can jump into the game, and then you'll go back and spend some time on the creation if you decide that you like the game. But if you spend like an hour and a half on a character, and then you play the game for 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, this game's rubbish.
That
You know?
has happened to me many
Right.
times. But Clint, you had a question about the creation parts too, right?
Oh yeah. Follow-up question, actually pretty good. So you have tons of characters, original characters in this game. You're saying all these parts are available. With that said, will you have creation parts not attached to the wrestlers? So like in 2K, they have all these creation parts that aren't attached to anybody. They're just extra. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Okay, I was just wondering if they're all attached to all the in-game characters because you have a lot. I wonder if you have time to actually make like little extra parts and creation parts here and there that aren't attached to a character. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I'm a fan of that as well. Like I'm a big fan of all the creation stuff and all this, like you say, the stuff outside of the game. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan as well. So like, you know, you have some of the wrestling games back in the day. They used to have the Goku hair.
Yeah. That was the one I used.
Yeah. But obviously, we're not going to have. Well, I don't know, but we're probably not going to have the Super Saiyan hair attached to a character. But we still want that in there. Like, honestly,
Nice.
I want you to be able to create, you know, Superman and
Nice.
you know, Spider-Man, like everything, you know.
Awesome.
So, but I mean, if we can't find a character that has that, you know, Superman haircut with the little swish, yeah, you know, we'll still put that in there. Obviously, I can't promise that every conceivable attire item is going to be there day one, but eventually, over time, you know, I genuinely want this game to be seen as the best creation suite wrestling game. So yeah, all that stuff.
Awesome.
I love that. I love that so much.
So
To transition here for me, because my two favorite parts of the wrestling games are the creation suite and online. So for me, I just wanted to ask, as far as, because this was the death of Fight Forever. If you go on to AEW Fight Forever, you cannot find an online match. And a big problem is that if you search for a match, the biggest thing is for them, they have no match types. Everybody's like, they need more match types, they need more match types, they need more match types. But if you're searching online, just the fact that there's like 13 different things you can pick, like one-on-one, ladder one-on-one, extreme barbed wire deathmatch one-on-one. It's too many options for the search that you'll never be able to find anything other than a basic one-on-one match. And at this point, you won't even find that. You'll spend an hour sitting watching a screen just go like this, circle, where you're on your phone. You're not actually actively playing the game. So to me, and Fire Pro was the same problem. Fire Pro, you're sitting at a screen, watching a search bar, searching for one specific match type. Nobody's looking for it. So to play anything in a wrestling game beyond just a one-on-one, or in WWE, at least people would be looking for a Hell in a Cell, maybe. But for specific match types, you'll never find a Royal Rumble or a Tornado Tag and stuff unless there's proper lobbies. So I wanted to ask, first of all, the thing that's been taken away in wrestling games over the past years, I don't know why. It was perfect, and I think it was in 12 or 13, WWE 12 or 13 was the last time I remember having it. But you were able to passively search for an online match in the background. Like in Street Fighter 6, you can do this, where you just go ranked, casual, whatever, find me a match, and then you can go into training mode. You can go into the arcade cabinet run-up, and it'll tell you when there's a match. It'll tell you the connection type, and do you want to accept this match? If you just if you're not even there and you ignore it, it takes you out of the searching queue. But if you say no, it'll keep you in the searching queue and give you an option to the next one. So I wanted to know, first of all, will we have the option to passively search for a match in the background so that we can be in the middle of creating a wrestler, editing a wrestler, playing the legacy career mode, whatever it might be, and then it'll have a little pop-up saying match found. Connection is this, do you want to join it? We have that option? And the other one, like I said, because of all the match types, is will we have a quick search option? So it will just look for any match type, doesn't matter, and it'll just try and fill you in a lobby. So the quick search will not care whether it's one-on-one, triple threat, six-way, eight-way, because that way someone who's looking for like a fun six-way whatever match, that'll never ever fill if you have to search that specifically. Whereas if you just have a quick search button and it's like find me anything and throw me in a lobby, you'll more likely be able to fill those.
Yeah, I'd definitely be open to looking at lots of different ways of filtering out different things. Like, even as you're saying all this, I'm thinking even if you have like search filters, so you have like you're searching for a match, it doesn't really matter. It's going to bring back all of them, but you could even tick a box for like
One-on-one, two-on-two.
one-on-one. Have a bunch of boxes. So let's say there's a match that you just don't really want to play. Just leave that one unticked. And it could filter through all of them. That'd be great. I don't know why other games don't do that.
I don't either. But then the biggest thing is, don't keep me at a screen that's just got a circle saying searching.
Yeah.
Let me actually play your game, because that's what got me to shut off AEW Fight Forever. I was number 4 in the world on Xbox. Right off the bat, had fun. Once it took 45 minutes, an hour plus to find a match, and all I'm doing is heading at re-queue, and I'm just staring at a circle and I'm on my phone. I would be fine searching all day. I don't care if it takes 2 hours to find a match. If I'm able to play the legacy career mode or edit my wrestlers or do something having interact with the game while I'm searching in the background. And wrestling games don't do it anymore. They used to.
I completely agree with you, and whenever I hear that, like, wrestling games today aren't doing it the way that it logically should be done, the way that it makes sense, it does make me think, like, or maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's some sort of new technology that makes it difficult to do that. So I don't see why, but pending that there's no issues with doing that, and if there is any issues, I'll be the first one to tell you what the issues are. But yeah, of course that makes sense. Have a look for the match in the background. I don't see why it would have to be present there.
The Street Fighter 6 does it perfectly. You just tick your box.
There you go. Yeah.
Casual, ranked, you can search for both at the same time. It'll put you into whatever's first. And it tells you the connection strength of the person you're about to match.
Yeah.
So you can choose to say no, and it'll keep searching, and you just keep playing arcade mode or training or whatever it is you're working on. And I'm like, why is this so hard? This is perfect. Yeah. And wrestling games used to have that feature, and they don't anymore. And I would still be playing Fire Pro to this day if that was a feature. I never once got to play Fire Pro online, and I loved that game to death. And Fight Forever, same thing. They're all the issues aside and balancing issues. I enjoyed the gameplay and the mechanics. And if I could have just searched in the background and actually known eventually it'll find a match, so, well, I might as well get my 100 wins and unlock my Owen Hart or whatever. It would give me a reason to keep playing the game. But if I know I'm just going to be sitting there and every 10 minutes or so I have to press A to re-queue, hope I find something, and then I'm monopolizing my TV from my family and I'm not even doing anything and I'm just on my phone, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Right?
I know. I don't know. The Fight Forever's creator wrestler as well. That's a whole other issue.
I don't understand. If you're
right.
They said we're taking inspiration from No Mercy and Here Comes the Pain. Both those games had a much better creation system.
Yeah,
a million times better.
I almost feel like it was an afterthought. I almost feel like they thought that
I don't think they finished. I just don't think they finished the game. I think the game was at a certain point. They ran out of money, and then they're just like, well, we just started on the creation suite, because you can see the ideas. You get Kenny Omega's hair, you have his different pants in there, but that's it. There's like 3 in-game wrestlers, and then it's just like, here, have a flag on your shorts.
Right.
Like, I literally feel like it just, they cut it off, because there's also like 10 match types that are hidden in their career mode that you can't play outside of it. And it's like, I just feel like the game wasn't finished, and they just cut the funding, and they're just like, just put it out. We need to make back what we can, and we have what we have now. Yeah, which is really sad.
Yeah, that's very possibly what the situation was, because it does seem strange. I mean, that's the creation suite is strange, and how
bad it is.
How limited it is. Yeah,
I've never seen a creation suite that bad in a wrestling game in the history of anything I've ever played. Super Nintendo had a better one with the Fire Pro games. Fire Pro on Super Nintendo, released in '96, had a much more in-depth creation suite.
I think the only one I've seen worse than that one is Rumble Rose's XX on the 360. That is the worst creator wrestler. There's like 2 options in each category.
Made by use.
Made by use, yes.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's Steven, our sound guy. So,
hey, how's it going, man?
Howdy. Good to see you.
Yeah, let us know if we're going too long, and we'll cut it short. Just let us know.
Honest, I'm actually probably getting picked up in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay.
So yeah, we'll go an extra 5 minutes if you want.
All right. Let's see.
Okay, sure. I'll shorten my next question because it was gonna be with the online searches anyways. Will we be able to just fill lobbies with AI? Like if say there's like a 30-man battle royal, and me, Clint, and three other guys are playing, but we want to autofill the lobby with AI, or if I want to have a tag team match with Clint and we want to play against just two AIs together, is that an option? Can we just autofill the rest of the lobby with computer opponents?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, no issues with that.
Cool. Clint,
Quick.
Well, another thing that we're so enthusiastic about, and a lot of it is because of the Fire Pro games. And I actually didn't play much of the Fire Pro games, but I do know the sort of respect that those games have for the AI matches and the simulations that people like to run. And people, I know with those games, people like to create their own wrestlers, their own promotions, and just not even play the game and just like actually have the AI simulate all the matches. So that's definitely something that we want to encourage and have with Ultra Pro Wrestling. So yeah, big into all the AI, big into all the different match types and options, and like I was telling someone the other day about the depth of like what you can do just by tweaking the rules, like, and it's the same with the AKI games. They let you tweak those rules to the point where you could really come up with so many matches that you would just never see in real life. Like you could have a Royal Rumble that's a first blood rules.
Oh,
So
nice.
basically, everyone has to get bust open in order to get eliminated. So yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, big into stuff like that.
Nice.
Awesome.
You got time for one more? You got to go.
Yeah, one more. It's fine.
All right. So the backstage areas. Now I saw them in the trailer. Are you going to have full, open, huge backstage fighting areas, or is it just going to be little like rooms like they did in the old games? Like just one giant open area where you can just go around, like the parking lot, their locker. It's kind of like 2K does, where you just literally go anywhere. And is it going to be one seamless thing, or is it going to be a bunch of little loading screens?
No, there won't be any loading screens. It will be, if you imagine like what the backstage area is like in No Mercy with the little rooms, but there's no loading screens in between.
Nice.
So you can go into the locker room, you can then go out into the other rooms and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean we're obviously looking to those games again.
Yeah.
But that backstage area did seem a little bit small. That little corridor.
Yeah.
So it will be bigger than that.
Nice.
In fact, we're basically going to have 3 different prototypes for backstage areas because if you're in a massive arena, the backstage area is going to reflect that. So it's going to be a big backstage area. And then if you're in like a little town hall, the backstage area is going to be smaller. But we think 3 different backstage areas with different sizes, and then just texture swapping out what the walls look like, what the posters, the signs. If you're in Japan or Mexico,
Nice.
just changing those signs about. It will give you the feel of just being a new place every time.
So
Yeah,
That's
we're
awesome.
obviously quite excited about getting all the backstage stuff done. That's going to be cool.
Nice.
Amazing.
Well, thank you
Well,
so
Sam-
much. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dubs.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. I was going to ask if there's anything, because obviously we're going to leave a link down below in the description to all the socials, to the ultraprowrestling.com, your guys' Patreon, everything else. But is there anything you specifically would like to plug on air, but other than just outside of the description?
No, not really. There's nothing going on that we need to promote or anything. Obviously, we have the Patreon, and we do try and encourage people to help us out there. So even just $2, anything, it all helps. But no, just I watch you guys whenever you make videos on us and stuff like that, and I appreciate it so much. You and Kenny Bomb as well. Shout out to Kenny Bomb. Big.
Yeah, Kenny's awesome.
I'm big fans of you guys and how much you've supported what we're doing. So.
Well,
Yeah.
we are so gracious and thankful for having you here.
Right.
I've been a huge fan, and since the inception, well, not obviously not since, but since the Kickstarter, very, very excited. Can't wait to get my title belt in the mail.
Yeah.
But one thing I just wanted. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Because I remember there was someone on Twitter the other day you posted, and you were asking how did he get that belt? It was
You were taking it
Photoshop.
around.
Photoshop.
Oh, I just thought you guys. Well, you guys also said you were taking it around, so some people took pictures
Oh
with
yeah,
it. If they were
I
like
was,
at, if they were at like Wembley or anything like that.
yeah, no, I assumed that, oh, we must have ran into this guy, and he go, no, someone asked him, and it was Photoshop. So that was a shout outs to that guy, because that
That's
was a really
awesome.
impressive.
Yeah, it looked legit. That's great. But one thing I want to stress as well is I know we're aiming for an end of 2024 release window. Do not rush this game. Do not do what AEW Fight Forever did, because the first impression is going to be the most important. And no matter how many updates make this game perfect in the end, not every game's going to have a No Man's Sky where you get people come back, or people come back to Cyberpunk. It's way more often than not, people will never come back to a game than they will. So you want to put your best foot forward. So if delays come or happen, don't feel bad about it. Just take the time you need to cook and make this game what you guys are shooting for, because everything that it sounds like, this sounds like it's going to be the greatest wrestling game of all time, in my opinion.
I really appreciate that, because I have such a fear of letting people down, and I want to give people what they want and everything. But the amount of people that we've had say basically the same thing: don't rush it. No one's going to be upset. Make it good. Make it, do what you have to do. Yeah, that just means the world. It's just it allows us to it literally takes like pressure and stress off of what we're doing. So I appreciate you saying that, and yeah, we'll do what we can to make this the best wrestling game ever.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, thanks guys. We'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Mr. Dubs, thank you for joining me. Sam had to get going for his crazy busy schedule. Thank you again, Sam, if you're watching this. As always, thank you for watching, and stay frosty. Dubs, you got anything to say?
I mean, stay tuned for all things Ultra Pro Wrestling. Follow us, obviously. All our socials are down below. You can also catch us every week on Off the Top. We will be covering this game in depth as long as as long as there's news to get out there, we will be the first to get it out to you. And anytime we have a chance to sit down with Sam again and chat with him, you guys will be the first to know. So follow me at Mr. Dubs on YouTube. Obviously, follow Strizer. You're here. Strizer Tube Wrestling. You're already here. Make sure you give him a subscribe, and check us out on Off the Top as well. All our socials, like I said, should be down below. Thanks a lot, guys.
Later.